And I'm Renee. Welcome back to another episode of Ship or Snip. Alina, what are we going to talk about today?
Today, we're going to be talking about the movie The Holidate. It's a new movie on Netflix, and it's about two single people who, are fed up being single on the holidays. So they decide to become each other's plus ones all year round for every holiday, and they call each other holidates.
That just kind of blows my mind, honestly. So basically, a holiday is some person that you bring as a date to every holiday, every function, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, as we see in the film, Easter, Mother's Day, 4th of July, all of it. Um, so the two main characters that in the film that we're going to be talking about are Sloan and Jackson. So Alina, do you want to tell us how we first meet Sloan?
Yeah, of course. We meet Sloane at the beginning of the movie. She's the main character, and she's at Christmas dinner with her family, and her mom is like pestering her. Do you have a date? Are you over your ex? What's wrong with you? Are you happy? Why are you single? Like just pestering her about her relationship and her relationship status.
Hmm.
How do we meet Jackson?
Yeah, so Jackson, same thing. We meet him at Christmas, but he's Australian, but he lives in the US, okay? And he didn't want to spend the Christmas alone, and so he goes to this woman's house that apparently he's been seeing. Throughout the scene, we notice that like they haven't been together that long, but she has a lot of feelings for him. Her family like puts him in a Christmas sweater, shows him baby pictures, like invites him to stay over. She like expects a Christmas present, like goes the whole thing, and he panics and he's like, this is nothing of what I wanted, and he skedaddles out of the door.
Yeah, so we could both see that both of them are in, these situations where they kind of want more, stability or someone with understanding like to their situation, right? So Sloane would probably want someone who she could just show off to her family. And we can see Jackson is all by himself from Australia. He doesn't even have any family, so he just kind of wants to be in a family. So they both kind of had to settle.
Yeah.
Um, and we can also see like with the both of them, there's this like need to be in a valid relationship. And there needs to be this conversation of what even is a valid relationship.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a question that a lot of people ask, like, what even is a relationship? I think what's important to acknowledge is that we are in relationships all day, every day, with everybody we meet, essentially. We're in relationships with our family members. They're our parents, they're our cousins, our siblings. We're in a relationship with our friends. Those are our friendships, and then our romantic partnerships. And that's the biggie of relationships. That's we often equate a romantic partnership to a relationship. So, especially for the purposes of the holiday, um, when we say relationship, we're going to be talking about a romantic partnership.
Exactly. And with a romantic partnership comes all of these expectations, right?
Mhm.
And we can see once Sloane and Jackson agree to be holidates, when Sloane brings Jackson around to these holidates, they're questioned by everyone, by all of
Yeah.
Sloane's family, friends, even Jackson's friends. Like, what are you guys? And are you even valid? Like, for example, we see in the movie, one scene that stands out to me is when Jackson and Sloane are at Sloane's mom's Mother's Day dinner, right? Or is it lunch?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the Mother's Day lunch.
Brunch.
Yeah. And they're sitting together eating, literally like no conversation, and all of a sudden Sloane's mom is like, are you guys having sex? And
Mhm.
if the answer is no, um why not? Are you guys even in a relationship? And that brings up this idea of, they have this already set boundary that they're not going to have sex, but they're still in a relationship. They're still in a holiday relationship. So Sloane's mom equates to being in a relationship is when you have sex, when you have like these romantic feelings. And she also equates that, if Jackson isn't having sex with my daughter, that means my daughter is not good enough to be
Mhm.
with this person, right? So she's equating the worth of her daughter to whether or not her boyfriend is having sex with her, which
Yeah.
is like not a thing that should be happening.
No, I mean, and hey, everybody's parental relationships are different. They're super chill with talking about sex and like that being an open conversation. That's great for them. I think what's also important is, you know, having that conversation of what makes a relationship real between those two partners. Like, what are the bounds of that relationship? And I think with that, which you had already kind of mentioned, Alina, was they created a boundary. They established their boundary as having no sex, and that worked for the box of what a holiday relationship was or is. And they make that they make that decision. They create these boundaries pretty early in the film, right after Valentine's Day, where they meet up again in the mall and they make this situation thing official. And we can see that Sloane was pretty weary, pretty apprehensive about it because she mentioned like, how is this going to work? What does it even mean? And they decide, okay, only holidays, right? Only holidays and no sex. And that's totally great. That worked for them. That was their relationship, that was their boundary. And ultimately what that boundary was informed by were their values of not making themselves feel uncomfortable, not making the other person feel uncomfortable. What a boundary is some type of barrier that is informed by values, and it pretty much states what an individual will allow in or what they don't allow in, right? And in that car on Valentine's Day, shoving their faces with chocolate, they created those boundaries.
Exactly. And I totally agree with you. At the beginning of that movie, that is what they were both comfortable with.
Mhm.
But as time progresses and they got to know each other more, we can see that it was important for them to renegotiate those boundaries. Like
Yes.
the one scene that sticks out to me is when Jackson blows off his finger at 4th of July.
Mhm.
And they end up like holding hands or like touching hands, and then there's like those sparks,
Vibes.
the vibes. There's obviously like sparks there. And that would have been an appropriate time for Jackson and Sloan to be able to stop and talk about, can we go past this boundary of like not catching feelings or, not having sex to kind of, further solidify and become more of, a relationship, like a partnership relationship, intimate
Yeah.
relationship. Because right now they're just kind of like a friendly relationship. Um, but the thing is, when we talk about the Valentine scene again, we also talk about how they both put these gender roles on each other, right? Where,
Yes.
Jackson says that girls catch feelings too quick, and Sloane says that, well, men just run away when like like they start liking someone. And this, I feel like, puts that strain on being able to comfortably talk about, can we change these boundaries, these gender roles?
You're absolutely right, Alina. I think the scene that you mentioned like very explicitly references gender roles. But gender roles, this assumption, an expectation that women catch feelings, men run away, like color the entire film. That is how we expect Sloane and Jackson to act, right? Because of those gender roles. Plot twist, that's the complete opposite of how they act. what we
Literally.
see what we see is that Sloane is the one that runs away and Jackson is the one that is craving a deeper relationship and is very willing to enter into that deeper relationship. And if they had felt comfortable with each other to renegotiate that boundary, of course, the movie probably wouldn't be on Netflix. But I think I think what is important to mention though is that these gender roles, as they're described, are specific to heterosexual relationships. They're discussing how men and women act in a relationship with each other. That doesn't mean that it isn't hurtful to heterosexual relationships. It's just as hurtful to straight women and straight men as it is to lesbian women and gay men. Those stereotypes perpetuate all relationships, right? It's hurtful to every kind of relationship. But in the case of this film, we're really talking about a heterosexual relationship.
Yeah.
So I was thinking though, like where else do we see gender roles impacting the characters in this film?
I mean, another huge one that I saw throughout the whole film was everyone asking if Sloan was happy. Like, are you happy that you're in a relationship? Are you happy that you're single? Like, it's just this whole idea, and the whole movie is basically, just shaped around Sloan's relationship status. And
Mm-hmm.
it brings up this idea that a woman can only be happy when she's in a relationship. A woman only feels whole when she's in a relationship, and that's not the case. You can be happy if you're single, you can be happy when you're in a relationship, and both are fine. And that's what we see through this movie is that the only way Sloane's happiness is valid is if she's in a relationship. And that just rubs me the wrong way. That's not how it works, right?
Absolutely. I think from this whole film, it makes me think of the question of that we kind of alluded to earlier of what makes a relationship real,
Mhm.
right? Like what are the actions, what is the context that makes one relationship more real than another?
Mhm. And I guess going off of that and relationships, what is the importance of bringing home someone for the holidays? Why
Mm,
is there an emphasis on bringing someone home for the holidays?
absolutely. That's a really good question. I'm excited to hear any answers to that. All right. So thank you, everybody. That pretty much wraps us up with Ship or Snip Holiday Edition. I hope everybody is having happy holidays, safe holidays.
And we hope to hear your comments down below on this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next month.
Bye.
Bye.